Hello and welcome to SaltWire today for Thursday, March 30th. I'm your host, Kate Walker. The Mass Casualty Commission presented their final report into the 2020 Portapique massacre in Truro today. The report, which is nearly 3,000 pages long, is split up into 7 volumes. Some of the main takeaways from this report are that the MCC say the gunman could have been stopped years prior, given the information they had about his past.
Our investigation made clear that there were many warning signs of the perpetrator's violence and missed opportunities to intervene in the years prior to the mass casualty.
The report also emphasizes that RCMP could have saved lives by sending out an alert earlier than they did.
Nothing will bring my brother back or any of the other people that we lost in this horrible ordeal. But, you know, we have to take and move things forward. And at least if we can get the positive side of this and move things forward, it will, you know that these people didn't lose their lives for nothing. It's going to, if it makes a positive change that's nationwide, it'll be appreciated, I know, by families.
We will never know why or what happened.
No, we'll never know.
We'll never know. But at least this report is giving us a starting page to be able to create our family's legacy.
The inquiry is also calling for a ban on semi-automatic weapons and on-sale ammunition for certain types of guns. The final report is also calling for national gender-based violence initiatives. The report puts forward 130 recommendations, over 70% related directly to RCMP and policing.
What I would say, the commitment of the province is very strong for safer communities, for sure. And starting with one of the recommendations that the Commissioner McDonald, I think, was talking about today, was just to have an oversight committee to make sure that things get done in cooperation with the federal government. So we're on board for that.
We will take the time now to properly digest and understand the recommendations and the conclusions and the opportunities that the Commission has put forward for us to take up. There's no question there need to be changes, and there will be, but we will take the time to get those right.
The MCC says the final report is not to assign blame, but to study what happened and provide recommendations for change. However, they say they don't shy away from hard truths and accountability. And Sheldon will have more on this coming up in the newscast when he speaks with Commissioner and retired Fredericton Police Chief Leanne Fitch. In case you missed council yesterday, HRM property owners are looking at paying more in property taxes. Plus, it'll soon cost to park downtown on Saturdays. Halifax Regional Councillors settled on a budget that would increase the tax burden by 5.8%. But since assessments jumped more than 20%, the tax rate is actually going down by nearly 5%. Another change in Wednesday's budget talks included charging for parking on Saturdays. To help make ends meet, staff suggested that HRM could boost revenue by $538,000 this fiscal year by charging for parking on Saturdays. Both of Adam Drake's first-degree murder charges have now been fast-tracked to Nova Scotia Supreme Court. Earlier this month, prosecutors filed a direct indictment to send Drake's murder charge in relation to the September stabbing death of Dartmouth rap artist Pat Stay straight to trial in Supreme Court without a preliminary inquiry in provincial court. 31-year-old Adam Drake was arrested in September 10th in Upper Tantallon and charged with killing Stay. 7 weeks later, police relayed a charge of first-degree murder against Drake in connection with the November 2016 shooting death of 22-year-old Tyler Kaiser. The jury trial in the Stay case is set for 5 weeks beginning April 2nd, 2024. Drake will be in Supreme Court next week for the start of a 5-day bail hearing on both charges. He has a different set of lawyers on each charge. On a lighter note, if you're looking for a good laugh, the Snowed In Comedy Tour will be visiting Truro for the first time. The show will be held at the Marigold Cultural Centre on April 4th. SaltWire's Brendan Creamer has the details.
While the weather is certainly starting to warm in Colchester County, the Marigold Cultural Centre in Truro is about to be snowed in by 4 very funny people. On April 4th, the Snowed In Comedy Tour will be making their first stop in Truro. The Atlantic leg of the tour features comedians Dan Quinn, Pete Zedlacker, Paul Meyerhog, and Erica Sigurdsson, all of whom have made a name for themselves nationally and internationally. Dan Quinn, a Just for Laughs winner, organized the first Snowed-In nearly a decade ago. He spoke of the inception of the independent cross-country tour.
Basically, what I was originally going to do was I was going to do the tour by myself. I just wanted to go skiing for a couple weeks, not pay for it. So I decided to kind of do this tour around ski hill gigs. And then I told another comic about it, Glenn Wool. He asked if he could come with me. I said, great. He told other comics about it, Ed Byrne and Craig Campbell. And they said, hey, can we go? And then all of a sudden it was a new thing because it was 4 of us versus just 1. So I had to do a little bit bigger.
Pete Zedlacker joined Quinn for an interview with SaltWire Network. A 6-time Canadian Comedy of the Year nominee, Zedlacker spoke about his origins as a comedian, a story that goes as far back as his early childhood.
I was a very little boy, like 2 or 3 years old, and I was watching The Muppet Show. And I turned to my mom and I said, "What's a comedian?" And she said, "Where did you hear that?" She said, "Fozzie Bear, he's a comedian." And she said, "Well, that's his job. That's what he does. He's a comedian. He makes people laugh." And she said, I sat there for a second and thought about it. And I said, yeah, I'm going to be a comedian. Flash forward 30 years later, I'm at the Just for Laughs Festival in the wings, getting ready to do my gala performance hosted by the Muppets. And Fozzie Bear is the act that goes on right before me. It was one of those magic full circle moments.
One of Zedlacker's favorite parts of touring nationally with Snowed-In is watching the fan base grow over time as they return to each town.
Very exciting to watch that. Watch each of these new stops grow year after year. It's that's the best. That's the best pat on the back, is just to see like these venues get busier and busier each year, because clearly people like the show. They like us. They like our story. And we're a self-made tour. We're not. There's no corporate sponsorship. There's no comedy festival behind us doing any promo. It's just 4 internationally touring, headlining comedians getting together to do a kick-ass comedy show.
As for why the tour is coming to Truro, Quinn answered simply.
You know, we're not winning people over through doing a TV special and people in Truro saw us on TV. That's not what's happening. What we're doing is we're going to Truro and physically making them laugh in their town. And then they're going, oh, I'm coming back. Right? It's a very different way of winning fans over.
With luck, these 2 funny men will be returning to the hub town for many years to come. This is Brendan Creamer in Truro with the SaltWire Network.
It's time now for a glimpse of today's Thinking Out Loud with Sheldon McLeod. Today, Sheldon is speaking with MCC Commissioner Leanne Fitch.
Is this a call for the force to be removed, rebuilt, replaced? Where do you see this going?
Well, you know, that's a really good question, Sheldon, and thank you for asking it. There have been a number of reports before us calling for modernization, transformation, and reform in the culture of the RCMP. In policing in Canada right now, we are at a critical juncture. There have been so many changes over the last several decades, so many additional pressures on policing, that there really needs to be a transformation in culture, the way police operate, how they see themselves in the public safety network. And to do so, to make those transformative changes, we really need strong leadership. And we also need strong leadership, not only in those organizations, but in those organizations accountable. And we need to have the ongoing pressure from our communities. It ultimately is our communities that set the expectations for police, and it is ultimately the communities that the police are accountable to.
And for Sheldon's full conversation, head to the opinion section of saltwire.com. Time now for the Atlantic Sports Wire, presented by Scott Squires.
Rapid fire questions, here we go. What is your game day meal?
Ooh, gotta be pasta.
Okay, what kind of pasta? We got sauce on there, protein, what do we got?
Yeah, chicken and Alfredo sauce.
What about junk food? Like, if there's a day where, okay, you know what, I'm not gonna be athletic today, I'm not gonna work out, I'm just gonna sit down and have some junk food, what are you having?
Definitely craft dinner.
Craft dinner? Are you putting ketchup in there?
Maybe sometimes, as a treat.
Anything that you're currently binge watching on streaming services, shows, series, movies?
The Last of Us on Crave.
Are you as hooked as everybody else?
Of course.
All right, you're getting ready to come out and play a game, whether it's your team that you're coaching yourself. What do you like to listen to get the blood flowing?
When a fire starts to burn by Disclosure.
Tell me what sport you would play if you couldn't play Ultimate Frisbee.
I'd probably dive.
Diving?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to ask a real stretch of a question here. Is there a diver on the international scene or even locally that you can say, I really think they're amazing?
I honestly haven't kept up with the sport, but the people that I used to dive with are pretty amazing.
Thank you, Scott. On to weather now to see what's coming up in the forecast. We're going to check in now with our weather specialist, Alistair Alders.
Thanks, Kate. Well, it was a windy day down here on the Halifax waterfront, but I managed to make it out before the sharp cold front that is crossing the province. It will be bringing us a bit of unsettled weather as we go through the first half of this evening. We will see periods of snow transitioning over to a chance of flurries. Now, in total, traced to 5 centimeters, and I do think even 5 centimeters is a little high. However, further inland can't completely rule out 5 centimeters given the intensity of the cold front. Otherwise, like I said, though, traced to 5 centimeters. We'll see the temperature falling back below freezing this evening, so do watch out for some icy spots on the roadways. And we'll start near -5 tomorrow morning with mainly cloudy skies, and we will have a chance of flurries. It will be windy tonight into tomorrow. Northwest winds 20 to 40 this evening and 30 to 50 tomorrow morning. Now, winds will diminish as we go through tomorrow afternoon into the evening, and tomorrow afternoon mainly sunny skies on the way with a high heading up to 5 degrees. Not long before our next system moves in, though, that will arrive to welcome April on Saturday. Could start as a bit of snow initially, but mainly a rain and wind event, 5 to 15 millimeters of rain on the way, and we will see southeast to southwest winds of 40 to 70 kilometers per hour. So March ending on a somewhat snowy note here in Halifax, and April certainly will be welcomed on a wet note. Kate.
Thank you, Alistair. That's all for now. For more extended video and full online articles, stay tuned to saltwire.com. You can find us on social media. I'm your host, Kate Walker. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.